Yes, death. Yellow fever is deadly. But there's good news. Yellow fever is preventable. All you need is vaccination. Treatment can help, but this condition cannot be cured. Get vaccinated today.
This message is brought to you by the National Primary Health Care Development Agency and partners.
Powered by Gavi.
Thanks for being there. The Presidential Advisory Committee on the Elimination of Drug Abuse has declared total war on the menace to save Nigerian youths.
The chairman of the committee, Buba Marwa, said this at an interactive forum with journalists in Abuja. Ahmed now reports.
The issue of drug abuse by youths ranging from intake of unprescribed drugs to taking of overdose drugs such as tramadol, codeine to hard drugs like cocaine and marijuana, among others, especially in the northern part of the country, where an estimated 3 million bottles of codeine is consumed daily, has become a serious concern to both the government and other relevant stakeholders. It is against this backdrop that a Presidential Advisory Committee was inaugurated by President Muhammadu Buhari earlier this month to address the menace. On the new strategies to combat the menace, the committee is preferring step-by-step approach by blocking all supply channels.
Our purpose is to bring out strategies urgently that would also be sustainable to eliminate this unfortunate situation that we are faced with, that is drug abuse.
The committee is to embark on a nationwide campaign and to work with traditional rulers and community leaders on the possible ways of combating the drug abuse trend in the country with Ahmed Ondas Ahmed. NTA News.
And now to matters concerning security. For the first set of regular cadet officers of the Nigeria Police Academy, Kano, the major task ahead of them is exhibition of the values of courage, bravery, and determination in the fight against all forms of crime towards achieving a better society.
President Muhammadu Buhari threw the challenge at the convocation and passing out parade of the cadets, insisting that persons in conflict with the law must be diligently prosecuted no matter how highly placed they are in society. State House correspondent Adam Musambo reports.
It was a remarkably historic, epoch-making event as President Muhammadu Buhari inspects a colorful ceremonial parade of cadet officers at the Police Academy, Wudil Kano, as the first sitting Nigerian leader to do so. 602 of them are judged worthy in character, fitness, and in learning after a 5-year training program passed out as assistant superintendents in the Nigeria Police. President Muhammadu Buhari, who congratulated the officers for achieving their dreams, said it is now their duty to combat crime and ensure peace and security in the country. He, however, said the only thing that can guarantee them a career they seek in the police force is integrity, professionalism, and resistance to all acts of criminality.
During the course of performing your duties, you will be confronted with a lot of challenges, much of it hostile. You may be faced with a situation where you are requested to bend the rules for either financial or material benefits. No matter what the promises are, you must not succumb to such pressures. Ensure that your actions are in line with extant rules and regulations, and make sure you can defend your actions at all times.
The president said with the recent increase in police salaries, they have no reason whatsoever to fall into temptations of financial or other inducements, warning that those who fail to heed the lawful instructions will certainly be caught in the web of the law.
Illegal detentions, extrajudicial killings, torture, and the violation of the fundamental rights of the people must be avoided at all times. The campaign for the 2019 elections have commenced, and that means heightened political activities in the country. You must do everything possible to make the election violence-free, to avoid ballot box snatching, multiple voting, vote buying on sites, attack on electoral offices, and other acts which might negatively impact on the elections and their outcome.
While commending the Nigeria police for being part of the success story in the fight against Boko Haram, President Buhari likened recent attacks to attempts by the defeated insurgents to reorganize what he called their ragtag and scattered individuals, saying this will not be possible as plans have been finalized to completely wipe out the group. Minister of Interior Abdurrahman Dambazau expressed optimism that the Polak bill, now before the National Assembly, will soon be passed and signed into law towards repositioning the academy and ultimately achieving better policing in Nigeria.
The presence of Mr. President underpins his unparalleled commitment to the transformation of not only the police academy, but the entire Nigerian police and the security sector at large.
Let me assure His Excellency that the Nigerian police is committed to a secured Nigeria. There will be no hiding place for criminals.
Highlights of the ceremony was a presentation of the Sword of Honor to Shuaibu Aminu, the best all-round cadet from Kano State, by the President, who also presented an award to Evangeline Babuba as the best female cadet. Two others representing all the graduates were symbolically commissioned as ASPs. The Nigeria Police Academy Wudil Kano was transformed into a degree-awarding institution in 2012 as part of efforts to generally reform the police and put it on a sound footing. From Kano, Adamu Sambu, NTA News.
And from the National Assembly comes a report that the Senate has urged the federal government to investigate the circumstances surrounding the death of former Chief of Defense Staff Alex Bade. National Assembly correspondent Ignatius Unko has details.
25 minutes after a closed-door session, Senator Binta Masi Garba drew the attention of the Senate to an urgent matter, and that was the killing of former Chief of Defense Staff Alex Bade, who died from gunshot wounds on Tuesday, 18th of December 2018.
And while one of his personal staff is still held hostage by the assailant.
So I want to appeal to authorities to ensure that they get to the root of this matter.
Those of his personal staff that are still being held, all efforts must be made to see that they are rescued.
They observed a minute silence in honor of the late Air Marshal. The legislators have confirmed the nomination of 9 nominees as chairman and members of the Independent Corrupt Practices and Other Related Offences Commission, with Professor Bolaji Owasanoye as chairman. The executive is to send 3 remaining names to the Senate, 2 from the Northeast and 1 from the South-South. Justice Uwani Musa Abaji was also confirmed as Justice of the Supreme Court of Nigeria. The Prisons Act Repeal and Reenactment Bill 2018, sponsored by 3 senators, and the Federal Polytechnic Item Abia State Establishment Bill, sponsored by Senator Mao Ohuabunwa, were passed. And as the Senate ends its 2018 legislative activities, the Senate leader Ahmed Lawan and Minority Whip Philip Aduda reassured Nigerians of the commitment of the National Assembly towards the unity and oneness of Nigeria.
For the executive arm of government, represented here by Senator Itaina, we want to say that we would like to always cooperate, partner, coordinate,
and to ensure that we make those laws only that will promote the peace, unity of this nation.
Very patriotic remarks. I'm sure this is exactly what Nigerians would like to hear from us each day.
Senate has adjourned to Tuesday, 16th of January 2019 for the Christmas and New Year holidays. From the National Assembly, Ignatius Unko, NTA News.
Now, the federal government has described as untrue a recent report by Amnesty International claiming that the federal government is not doing enough to contain the farmers-herders clashes in the country.
Information and Culture Minister Lai Mohammed, in a chat with newsmen in Abuja, advised Amnesty International to further its research on Nigeria so as to update its records rather than mislead the world. Anthony Forsen has more.
Amnesty International is wrong, and very wrong too. to suggest that the government has done nothing to stem the killings.
Chronicling efforts by the federal government in containing insecurity across the country, the Information and Culture Minister described as untrue the Amnesty International's report on Nigeria with what the federal government has put in place to ensure safety of lives and property. Some of the efforts, the minister said, are as follows: deployment of a joint military intervention force, establishment of the Army's 2nd Battalion in Kamfanin Doka village, Beningwari, Kaduna State, establishment of an area command and 2 divisional police headquarters, also in Beningwari. The Air Force Quick Response Wing in Benue, Nasarawa and Taraba states, the inauguration of a new mobile police squadron in Takum, Taraba State, Operation Wild Stroke in Benue, Nasarawa, Taraba and Zamfara states to tackle the menace of armed herdsmen, cattle rustlers, communal militia, kidnappers and bandits.
Amnesty has also accused the government of lethargy, saying that it has allowed impunity to flourish. Again, they got it wrong.
On this allegation equally, the minister explained that more than 900 people were arrested, 874 being prosecuted, while 68 have been convicted. This, he said, is far from what Amnesty International is alleging.
There's a video circulating which many of you must have seen. I've read the report and I've seen the video. Let me start first by saying that this administration will not condone any extrajudicial killing or violation of anybody's human rights. Having said this, we are studying the video, we are studying the report with a view to seeing to its authenticity, after which appropriate steps will be taken.
Lai Mohammed, however, called for caution, saying this well-choreographed campaign has the capacity to demoralize the gallant military who are currently making Nigeria proud. Responding to former Vice President Atiku Abubakar's claim that killings will continue if President Muhammadu Buhari is re-elected, the minister simply said,
this amounts to politicization of a very serious issue. And I think it's very cheap politicking. If indeed it is true that he said so, I think it's nothing but an act of desperation on his part. Because as you can see, those who are following his campaign, from Sokoto to Ilorin to Ibadan to Gombe, the electoral campaign is floundering.
The minister also used the opportunity to dismiss reports that the federal government has clamped down on civil societies, saying it is the wild imagination of naysayers. Taking on the National Assembly over the 2019 budget presentation by President Muhammadu Buhari, he described their action as most unfortunate. He also commented on the electoral bill, saying the opposition should stop crying wolf when none exists. He rounded off by assuring Nigerians that President Muhammadu Buhari is committed to a free, fair and credible election, as he said he will not visit on his opponents what was visited him while in the opposition. In Abuja, Anthony Forson, NTA News.
It's now time for a break. The news continues afterwards. Do stay.
The Nigerian Television Authority News 24 channel, your dependable all-round news station, offers
This is the network service of the NTA.
This is the Diaspora on the NTA. Welcome to the program for this week. My name is Makut Simon Macham. Now, this week we were talking about the Global Compact on Migration that took place in Marrakesh, Morocco. We also have highlights of some interaction between Nigeria and Rwanda on diaspora relations. We also have, again, on the program, the issue of diaspora support for President Muhammadu Buhari. Welcome to the program. My name is Makut Simon Macham. Now let's begin with the Global Compact on Migration that took place in Morocco, where my colleague Joy Osiagu was in Marrakesh to cover the event. First, she brought us the highlights of presentations by global delegates.
Is making another important collective commitment to human rights and dignity. The Global Compact for Safe, Orderly and Regular Migration is a vital human rights document. It demonstrates not only that multilateral cooperation is still possible, but that it leads to better outcomes than isolationism and disdain for others. At a time of heightened anxiety and the changing reality of a globalized world, when some view migrants as convenient scapegoats for political gain, the Compact reminds us that the human rights of all migrants must be respected, protected, and fulfilled at all times.
The fact that 5, 12, 10, 12,000 people are trying to crash the border, enter a country of 330 million people, this is not the face of international migration. This is one aspect of it. It cannot be used, it seems to me, to characterize what are les enjeux, what is at stake in this common project. There are today 3.4% of the world's population who are migrant. In the year 2000, it was 2.7%. It's a phenomenon. It has been up to now on the increase. Will it continue to increase? When we look at the demographics and many factors, climate change, there's an expectation that we'll see maybe even more people on the move. And therefore, what is a good thing is to try to manage that the best way we can collectively. What is a bad thing is to do nothing and let it unfold in a chaotic, dangerous, unruly manners, with countries losing control of their borders, having people in their country that they don't know are there, feeding their informal economy from which they don't have a tax base. That's not good. But migration itself is not a good or a bad thing.
Can have bilateral agreements where we say if our citizen is leaving as a doctor, a nurse, a teacher, an engineer, we need to be assured that they're going to have employment opportunities. We need to be assured that they're going to receive the same kind of validation that they received here. It's possible to do that. We're not powerless. Secondly, I think that I'm a political economist myself, political and feminist economist. So I think the political economy of migration must be situated within that transfer of skills, resources, and benefits, because migrant countries, migrants benefit both the country of origin, countries of transition, and the country of destination. So we need to have an analysis of our own, an Africa-centered political analysis, economic analysis of what the benefits are and what the loss is to the countries of origin, by the way, because we cannot continue to be drained, bleeding, hemorrhaging, and as you say, people, our best minds driving cabs in Canada, washing dishes in New York, sweeping floors, sweeping the streets of Europe. It's a disgrace. So we need to have a political economy of those sorts of numbers. What is the cost? The cost of the training in the country of origin, by the way, the sort of skills base, the GDP contribution, and so on, along that skills value chain.
It's very strategic for Nigeria for many reasons. One of the clear reasons is that Nigeria's population will be growing at a very high speed. It is expected that in the next decade, we may be even one of the 5 largest countries in the world. Nigeria will export skills. The United Nations Agency for Migration, IOM, has predicted that Nigeria will be one of the 10 countries that must export its labor in the next century. Since Nigeria is a sending, receiving, and a transit country for migration, we must consider this global compact very strategic for us in order to protect our citizens who have moved out from our territory, in order to help those persons who pass through our territory, so that migration will be orderly, will be safer and beneficiary, not only to the migrant, but to the countries of receiving, transit, and destination. I think this is very strategic. I'm glad that Nigeria has shown its commitment, and we will continue to work hard to make sure that it is implemented.
We should also have it that we are discussing about human beings, the rights and dignity of these migrants. And I'm very glad today to see that representatives of many UN bodies were here today, and they made very meaningful contributions like the UNICEF, where the rights of the child migrant must be respected and must be upheld. And also the UNDP was represented. The body on food and agriculture was also represented. So it is a multi-stakeholder kind of thing. All the actors are involved, and everybody is speaking the same language of linking migration to development. It was even advised that we should be taken to the social media network where all these issues can be discussed, those for and those against, and let us see the pros and cons of this GCM. And as it was mentioned, really it's not about fighting them or about criticizing them. It's about engaging them and also moving ahead, going forward to show the benefits of this GCM to them and to the rest of the world. And then for us coming back home, it is also very important that we have the whole of government and whole of society approach, all of government approach in the sense that all the agencies that are responsible on the issue of migration have to come together, have to work together to see that this issue of migration is being tackled and this issue of migration is being brought to fore, and we tap from the successes so far being made. And the other aspect of this is all of the society approach, where other members of the society have to come in as well. And that is why we have a national migration policy in place where every stakeholder is involved in that migration policy. Their roles and their responsibilities they are stated out in the policy. So it is very important that all these agencies come together and work on this issue of migration.
Now, Joy also engaged members of the Nigerian delegation to that event.
It's very strategic for Nigeria for many reasons. One of the clear reasons is that Nigeria's population will be growing at a very high speed. It is expected that in the next decade, we may be even one of the 5 largest countries in the world. Nigeria will export skills. The United Nations Agency for Migration, IOM, has predicted that Nigeria will be one of the 10 countries that must export its labor in the next century. Since Nigeria is a sending, receiving, and a transit country for migration, we must consider this global compact very strategic for us in order to protect our citizens who have moved out from our territory, in order to help those persons who pass through our territory, so that migration will be orderly, will be safer and beneficiary, not only to the migrant, but to the countries of receiving, transit, and destination. I think this is very strategic. I'm glad that Nigeria has shown its commitment, and we will continue to work hard to make sure that it is implemented.
We should also have it that we are discussing about human beings, the rights and dignity of these migrants. And I'm very glad today to see that representatives of many UN bodies were here today, and they made very meaningful contributions like the UNICEF, where the rights of the child migrant must be respected and must be upheld. And also the UNDP was represented. The body on food and agriculture was also represented. So it is a multi-stakeholder kind of thing. All the actors are involved, and everybody is speaking the same language of linking migration to development. It was even advised that we should be taken to the social media network where all these issues can be discussed, those for and those against, and let us see the pros and cons of this GCM. And as it was mentioned, really it's not about fighting them or about criticizing them. It's about engaging them and also moving ahead, going forward to show the benefits of this GCM to them and to the rest of the world. And then for us coming back home, it is also very important that we have the whole of government and whole of society approach, whole of government approach in the sense that all the agencies that are responsible on the issue of migration have to come together, have to work together to see that this issue of migration is being tackled and this issue of migration is being brought to fore, and we tap from the successes so far being made. And the other aspect of this is all of the society approach, where other members of the society have to come in as well. And that is why we have a national migration policy in place where every stakeholder is involved in that migration policy. Their roles and their responsibilities they are stated out in the policy. So it is very important that all these agencies come together and work on this issue of migration.
And I can tell you from the period I arrived up to today, I think Nigerians are playing a very positive role here. Don't forget, people tend to think Morocco is a country that Nigeria is a destination country for Nigerians. But I can tell you that Morocco is not a destination country for Nigerians. Morocco is a transit country for Nigerians. You can look at it from different perspectives. If you're talking about flying their aircraft, the aircraft is a little bit, on the low side. People tend to take it and transit and go to whatever they are. And people that are also crossing either by the sea or on road or what, they find it difficult to cross. If you go up north, which is areas like Tangier, it's just 13 kilometers, nautical miles, from the coast of Morocco to the coast of Malaga, Spain, So people tend to say, oh, we can swim across 13 kilometers or whatever, cannot. But it's not. It's highly fortified, highly policed, that you cannot do that. We thank His Majesty, the King Mohammed VI, who has offered kind of amnesty to all West Africans. He gave a 2-year grace period, telling all our nationals that are here illegal to come forward, present themselves with their documents, show where they reside and what they do, and they'll be granted legal stay. And a lot of Nigerians have actually taken this opportunity. So if you talk about illegal Nigerians, yes, they are very receptive. And I can go further. Yes, that even if you do that and you're accepted, the king also had an institution where you can show the kind of skill you have. If you want to go into hairdressing, if you want to go into plumbing, if you want to go to motor mechanic, they will train you. And if you want to return to your country, he's also ready to give you money to come back. So these are some of this. It is a positive story here. I cannot say totally. There are one or two bad eggs that you cannot overrule having as a country like ours with great, but generally 98% of what we experience here is positive. And the Moroccans are very receptive. Roughly, I can say 6,000 to 7,000, if we do. Yes, both legal and illegal. They spread across. They are concentrated in Casablanca, which is like an equivalent of Lagos.
How often do you get to meet with them, to have conversations with them?
Oh, I told you, our doors are open. They are always here. We are in contact with the Nigerian organization here. If there's anything, even death, even at night, they can contact us and we give them paper. And we have a very good rapport with them. We've opened our mission in 1969. And prior to 2016, which is the visit of His Majesty King Mohammed VI to Nigeria, our relations was not as high as what we are experiencing today. For the first time in our relation with Morocco, we had the ruler visiting Nigeria. Since 1969, he was the first ruler to visit Nigeria. And within a year, we had our president. I had the privilege of hosting Mr. President here in this country, June, just about 5 or 6 months ago. And it has turned the page of Nigeria, and we are now experiencing. In fact, I don't even stay in the office most of the time. If I don't attend events, I start receiving messages from the Minister of Foreign Affairs. Is there any reaction from Nigeria and all that? So I can tell you right now, I think the sun is really shining on Nigeria and Morocco.
Let's now shift gears to talk about the 2019 elections and the Nigerian diaspora. Now, the chairman of Buhari Diaspora Support Organization based in the United Kingdom, Charles F.A. Sylvester, was recently in Abuja, and we caught up with him to discuss the Nigerian diaspora and the re-election of President Muhammadu Buhari. First, we asked him why he's in London and indeed what he has been doing in the UK.
I went to the UK, one, to study and also to look for you could say empowerment in my field, because I'd always had the ambition of being an entrepreneur. But when I got there, that was not what happened. I thought it was like a mini heaven, but when I got there, I had to go through a lot. Stayed with my elder brother, and suddenly with a master's degree and being a former banker, I found myself being a cleaner. And I suddenly became also a security officer. So in the midst of that, I knew I had a master's degree, but I thought that what I was doing, I should do it well. So while I was doing it, I got about 3 commendations from 3 different managing directors of the organization that I was. I used to wake up 5 a.m. in the morning in order to resume at 7 a.m., catch the train from Waterloo to Oxbridge. And suddenly one of the facilities managers said, why not start your own business? You've been good. So that was how I started my own business, and I got the support of one of the contractors for that particular organization. And he also helped me through by mentorship and all that. And that was how I started. And in 2004, I was able to establish my business.
Charles Sylvester also speaks about the Nigerian diaspora and why it is supporting President Muhammadu Buhari to be re-elected as the president of Nigeria.
Just like many millions of Nigerians, we have been concerned about the issues in Nigeria, the issue of poverty, the issue of corruption, the issue of lack of infrastructural development, the issue of looting of the government treasury with impunity. That was why I and many Nigerians in the diaspora mobilized Nigerians in the diaspora to support Mr. President Muhammadu Buhari in 2014. At that election, we did mobilize Nigerians in the diaspora to come over. We advocated that Nigerians in the diaspora should actually try and come to Nigeria to get their PVCs so that we can actually vote, because we don't have voting rights abroad. That was one of the strategies. Secondly, to mobilize Nigerians abroad to say, look, if you cannot come, phone home and tell them that, look, this Buhari is the best alternative, given his integrity and the fact that he's occupied various positions, and the fact that despite that, the man is incorruptible. And so in a situation where the only way you can fight corruption is to bring the incorruptible to fight the corrupt. You cannot bring the corrupt person to fight the corrupt people, because then if it's part of the web of corruption, then the looting continues. With that situation now, in April, the president declared that he was going to contest again for 2019. And we were privileged to be the first group, home and abroad. Because, you know, after the declaration, he just traveled to London. So we were the first group that went to see him, to visit Mr. President, to say, look, we Nigerians in the diaspora support your ambition to come back and be re-elected, given the fact that we believe that you have done a lot in 3 years, what the previous party could not do in 16 years.
The elections are just around the corner. What has been your engagement to garner support for the president and his party? What have you done so far?
What we've done is to enlighten Nigerians abroad more, and also Nigerians in the country, in Nigeria. Because the options are now clear, because the candidates have emerged. You are here. Nobody is a better Nigerian or greater Nigeria or more Nigerian than you and I. We are all equal. Nigeria belongs to all of us. I'm a father of 4 boys. Their grandfather, Professor Abuja, was a human rights activist and fought for the common people and for the good of Nigeria, just like many other activists that fought. So that in itself creates a sense of responsibility on every Nigerian, that we should ensure that the people, the leadership we have in Nigeria are those that have the interests of Nigeria at heart. Nobody is perfect. No human, I'm not a perfect man. President Buhari is not a perfect man. Neither are you. But amongst the people that want to contest, you have to now weigh who is the better alternative, who is the better option. And we see that President Buhari is the better and best option for Nigeria, irrespective of tribe. People thrive on tribal sentiments, religious sentiment, political sentiment, social sentiment, to try and create division so that they will manipulate the system and continue with their web of wickedness and looting the treasury. That is what we must. Once you transcend, once your thinking, your view transcends that, you will see clearly that this is an option between somebody that can lead this country to progress, to development, to a better future for all of us, than others that will continue with the web of looting. Nigerians in diaspora, that's why I'm here. That's why we have the Buhari Diaspora Organization and there are other diaspora organizations. We have our branches in Africa. We have in Senegal, we have in Gambia, we have in Ghana. We also have in Brussels, in Belgium. We have in Belgium, we have in Canada, we have in America, we have in... so that's why we also have networks all over in the diaspora as a group. And those Nigerians in the diaspora have come to the realization that Mr. President Muhammadu Buhari, has done a lot for this country. Given just for, don't forget, like I said, 3 years. We know what's happening abroad. We see it. We live there. We want the best, the same thing for our country. The people there are not less human or more human than us. So that's why we feel that the president is doing a lot, given the constraint. The president is doing a lot, and that is why Nigerians in all those countries are mobilizing under our umbrella, the Buhari Diaspora Support Organization, and also under other platforms to get Nigerians to say, look, we want President Buhari to continue with the good work that he is doing. We want this man to lead Nigeria to the greatness that we all desire and deserve.
It's time for Diaspora News, and we'll bring you highlights of the meeting between the Senior Special Assistant to the President on Diaspora and Foreign Affairs, Abike Dabiri-Erewa, and the Rwandan High Commissioner to Nigeria. Rwanda has achieved rapid transformation in recent years, which has been facilitated to a large extent by the contribution of its diaspora. This is why the Rwandan High Commissioner to Nigeria appreciates the decision of the Nigerian government to properly harness the potentials of its diaspora through the setting up of the Diaspora Commission, similar to what Rwanda already has. His visit to the Senior Special Assistant to the President on Diaspora Affairs and nominee for the chairmanship of the Diaspora Commission, Abike Dabiri-Erewa, is to collaborate and share experiences.
We want to keep in touch and explore how best we can peer learn and also start off concrete actions as to how both countries can tap the power of diaspora in building and consolidating development in our respective countries.
So government is making sure there's an enabling environment so that Nigerians in the diaspora can bring in their wealth of knowledge, their wealth of experience, and their resources for the glory and benefit of their country. So we look forward to working with you as it relates to the diaspora, so we continue to exchange notes.
They also discussed the recently held Diaspora Investment Summit, which brought together Nigerians and investors from around the world that made commitments and contacts for investing in Nigeria. Diaspora News brings us to the end of today's edition of the program. We thank you so much for watching. We invite you to join us again next time for another edition. On behalf of everyone who has contributed to making this program a success, I am Makut Simon Macham, thanking you again and saying bye for now.